Scottish Rugby podcast, brought to you by the Scottish Rugby blog. I am Cammy Black. I've made it by the skin of my teeth. I had something else on this evening. Luckily, it was remote. I've literally hung up. I got John to start the theme tune so I could dash on here, but we're fine. I made it in the end. I've got my beer. I was worried I was going to have to start this without a beer. That was my main concern, John.
Well, I mean, yeah, on the group chat, you were like, "Oh yeah, just give us 5 minutes. I'm just going to go." You know, it's like, see when do you know when you used to work when you went into the office and like you would rock up to a meeting late, but you would have a Costa. It was kind of like that. You were kind of upsetting me. Like I was going to be upset with you. Like you're being late.
Yeah, so John Anderson's here with us. Good evening, John.
I am
your host.
I know. I'm kind of out of. Because of the way it's set up, I'm now in the top corner, which feels like the host chair, but I'm not the host.
Do you know? No, this is something I found out. But I can move us around.
That's better. I was weirded out there for quite a while. I was struggling.
That's fine.
I'm happy now. Thank you.
And that voice, the man no longer struggling there. That's Craig Manson. Good evening, Craig.
Good evening. How we doing?
We're all good, thank you. We're good now, anyway. So yes, we are live at the moment on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and we're also live in our super secret social media group as well. For our Patreons, you can sign up to our Patreon for £3 a month, which is patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast. For that, you get not only do you get an ad-free version of this podcast in audio format, but you get a bonus episode where we do Hands in the Ruck. We do a little bit extra after the main podcast now, just for our Patreons, where there's bits of swearing as well, which people do seem to enjoy. Apologies to my mother. I did warn her that there was a dirty joke in the Patreon-only episode that I said. I gave her a clear... You all heard me.
Yes.
I gave a very clear warning, Craig, and said, "Mum, close your ears." Now, she didn't close her ears. She heard the dirty joke, and I got a text about it. So it's her own fault.
Amazing.
But she signed up to the Patreon, so that's fine. Sign like more, you know. So that's all good. And what we're hoping to do is we do stream that section of the podcast to the super secret social media group. We're hoping to try and stream it elsewhere for people that aren't on the social medias. So I'm hoping to get that set up by next week. Rory Kemet, I think one of our patrons asked if we could do that, and I am hoping to get that set up for next week. So that'll be exciting. We have more people interacting with us live in our the sweary bit of the podcast that we do. So tonight we've got Craig and John with us. We've got a bit of United Rugby Championship. We've got a bit of Super Six, little bit of news here and there to cover. Johnny McGinty's at training, so he tells us he's going to join us at some point this evening when he gets in. He's promised he's watched the Super Six this week, unlike last week where he popped on and I surprised him by immediately asking him to analyse Super Six games that he hadn't watched. He handled it manfully. So, do you want to just get? Should we get Embra Bennett out of the way, Craig?
Yeah, considering a certain person who's rubbing his hands together on the camera at the moment was rather nasty to me on Twitter the other day, and I thought to myself, hang on a minute, when Glasgow lost against Ulster, I was quite complimentary, and I thought, obviously the tables have turned, so I'm waiting. I've got it in the black book that I will be getting John Anderson back for his outburst.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, Craig.
Have you just noticed I've got a lot of smoke there to try and camouflage the fact that I have to talk about Edinburgh? No, I can't complain, to be brutally honest. I have to say they did all right. Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't. It's heartbreaking. It's one of those. It's a heartbreaking way for any game to end. I mean, we love a drop goal. Let's not, if you're going to lose to anything, losing to a drop goal. I mean, it's
especially a filthy
equally
drop goal.
I know, equally drop goal. Equally thrilling that it's a drop goal, but more heartbreaking than anything that it's a drop goal.
What was more? The problem is everyone saw it coming, and this is the thing: it's Edinburgh winning at half time. Yeah, okay, Here we go. And it just obviously they're in a transition phase, And unlike Glasgow's transition phase that's taken about 2 years and had a lot of abject failure in it, there you go. See, I'm going at you, John.
That was good.
Do I
That
need
was
to
good.
start?
I like
Do
that.
I
I
need
like
to-
that.
do I need to start keeping a ledger of these?
That's what we've done in the early days, mind.
Yeah,
We did,
well,
yeah.
that's true. Yeah, but no, I think what the only problem is, and I'll come back to it in a second. But I think I'm worried that they're papering over the cracks. We've got some great forward play as usual. The forwards have kind of been reined in a little bit, and we are seeing that sort of punching up, and then the ball starting to go into the backs. I think, but my concern is. And I'm sorry, Edinburgh fans, because I am an Edinburgh fan, but I'm going to have to say this. I'm worried that Vellacott is because he is doing so much, he's papering over the cracks of our backs. If he was, that sounds right. Okay, anyway, papering over the backs of my cracks. I don't know, cracks in my backs. But
we're not sponsored by them anymore, Craig.
Okay, damn it, right? Okay, no more. But yeah, I think he's phenomenal. He's had a great start, and if you look at the 2 tries he scored, they are very, very good individual tries, but they were playing what was in front of him right from the moment, rather than an actual team try. Oh, he could maybe say the second try of his was a team try, I guess. But
the first try is a breakaway one, right, where he kind of sprints. You've also got to then look at what everyone's doing around him, because to be fair, the forwards outside of him made that space for him to run through, and he's taking his chance, but they've got to be doing something right to stretch the defense in such a way that gap opens up. Yeah. And it's either because they've not put a guard on the ruck, because they're in two minds about which way the ball's going, and that could be down Ben Vellacott, it could be down the attack shape. But those, you look at them and you think those chances come from nowhere. But if you properly analyze kind of what's going on around Vellacott, there's probably more that's happening there than. I mean, it might just be Benetton had a defensive lapse, but it's more likely that there's an Edinburgh player doing something outside of Ben Vellacott that's taking the Benetton players away and creating that space. But I think you're right, Craig. It is. I can see why you'd be worried, but I think for me, the issue with Edinburgh is it is a defensive one, and I think the first try was an incredibly soft try.
Yeah.
And it's Stuart McInally, and it's not young players making the mistakes. That was Stuart McInally had completely switched off in that for that one.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue though is that. Especially in the second half, we were slipping off tackles, and we were also penalties. It was, going back to the old Edinburgh days of they've got this, guys, let's get on with it. And then soft penalties started coming in. I think Jamie Ritchie's penalty at the end was a difficult one because when he first went into the jackal, his knee hit the ground, but then he was back up on his feet when he then went for the ball. So I think he was that was difficult. That was what's the word? It was unfair. I think it was he was unlucky, I should say. Again, just as you say, I think for me, I'm taking far more out of it than I am going to sit here and be negative about it, because I think that they're starting to play a little bit more what's in front of them, which is great, and I think Vellacott has got a lot to do with that. My only problem is that he seems to be the one live wire that is doing things in that game, and it then becomes a very easy person to mark, and so if we're getting the ball wider, getting into Darcy's hands, etc., then we might have a little bit more. We might be spreading our defence a little bit wider, and we may be in a situation where we've got a chance to score more.
Yeah, and we'll probably touch this on when we get to Glasgow, but I think it probably helps when if you're playing against a team, John, where you don't know what the 9's going to do, and you've got to be live to the 9, then it helps to also have a 10 that you're worrying about as well, because if you don't know what either of them are going to do it, and maybe that's where at the moment Edinburgh are maybe kind of lacking a little bit. It's great to have the dynamism at 9 with Velicott. I think Charlie Shield, from what we've seen in previous seasons, has the potential to do that if he's
absolutely
given the opportunity. But at 10, they're maybe still lacking. I mean, I'm not saying they haven't got solid options at 10 these days, but they're not sparkling options.
No, when you're looking at the backline, Edinburgh potentially could put out, and the last few weeks have indeed put out. They have got a lot of potential in there in terms of exciting runners that can break a line. And I think the point Craig makes about worrying about the creativity outside of Ben Velicott, he is doing everything himself to a certain extent and creating tries. And yes, there's other people working, but he's finishing things. He's taking a lot on himself. I think you're absolutely right. You need, if you're going to rely on, like French teams, a lot of French teams play off 9 and then have a solid 10, a solid kicking 10, and that's an option. But it tends to be outside that. You have an absolute bulldozer that 9 can just ship, smash, and then reset. Edinburgh are not trying to play like that. They're wanting pace and pace and creativity in the back from 12 out. So they're kind of hamstrung by having. I've said I like Jaco van der Walt. I think he's a very, very solid option. Great boot on him. I don't think he necessarily now fits with the way Edinburgh want to play. I don't think Blair Kinghorn can do it either. So we're kind of already a couple of games into the season. We're starting to say, Edinburgh's lack of a 10, and it's not because they've not got a 10. It's because as a couple of seasons ago, you would be like, oh, Nathan Chamberlain's our only 10. Oh, right. They have the wrong 10s now because Blair's come in last minute and probably changed the game, just thrown the game plan on its head and changed it completely. And you can see the way Edinburgh are playing. Like, I know I give Edinburgh a stick on Twitter, and Craig's rightly pulled me up on that, but I'm liking the way they're trying to play. It's just they're missing. I think we said in our group chat they're missing a couple of key pieces that will allow them to play like that and allow them to be successful like that. So I think. All is not lost. It's definitely a transition season for them though, and Kinghorn is new to 10. We can laugh about it and be like, oh, why is he playing 10? But he is new to that role, and I think we'll see how he grows into that as the season progresses. Because I think he's going to be a first option.
We see, I actually think that we missed Blair Kinghorn at 10 this weekend.
I agree
because he has. My goodness, I'm going to defend him at 10. I think he's got that ability that he can, as I said to last week, to break through the tackle, get his hands free, get the ball moving. Yeah. And I think that would have tested the Benetton defence that a little bit more. No disrespect to Jaco, I think he's a very, very good defender as well, which we need at 10. He's got a strong tackle on him, so I can't really complain about that side of things. But I just, as I say, yes, I would love I'd love an all singing, all dancing 10 to come along to Edinburgh. That'd be fabulous. But I think it depends on where we are at the moment. I think it's going to be next season before we get something like that.
I agree. It absolutely will be. And I think you've got the foundations in place now with Ben Velicott, who I've obviously said is, before he came up, I was like, he's a decent player, but he's not proven. And he's come up and he started really well, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. So, to be positive about Edinburgh, I like what he's doing. I like the platform he's getting. I think it will be a season of building, though.
But yeah, I mean, but to come back to the point you made, Craig, which I know you were kind of, getting your mark back against John, but it's an interesting comparison with Glasgow. I don't see Edinburgh in the same position that Glasgow were when they were rebuilding, or when Danny Wilson came into Glasgow, because the nuts and bolts are there. There's a few parts missing. There's a few parts, at least that they're missing, that could be better.
Yeah.
Or they maybe don't quite fit with what Mike Blair wants to do, but that's fixable next season. And there's a lot to work. There's a lot to work with in Edinburgh.
I think you've got to take it that Richard Cockrell, love him or hate him, spent a bit of the SRU's cash and brought quite a lot of good players in. He did what he had to do because we're in a situation where the Pro 14 was and the autumn's tests and the World Cup and all these different things were taking players away. So he had to bring in a lot of South African players and players from elsewhere and rely on a lot of the younger lads. So I think they're at a point now where, just as you say, they don't have that drop off. Glasgow when Danny Wilson came in had lost a hell of a lot of players, and Danny Wilson kind of had to deal with what he had in front of him, and then all these marquee players went off to play for Scotland. So I certainly don't, just as you say, I don't think we're at that point. But so that's why I'm not sitting here being really upset about the loss. We still took away 2 points. A try bonus point. For Edinburgh, a try bonus point. I'm a happy guy. It's
and listen, I think that it's easy to kind of be down on Benetton and just say, "Oh, it's Benetton," but Benetton won the Rainbow Cup.
We
joke about that tournament. We joke about that tournament, but they won the Rainbow Cup. They put in a decent performance last week. Benetton are not Benetton of old. Benetton seem to have got their act together a little bit.
Particularly at home, they look like a decent side. So,
yeah.
Coming away with 2 points, fair enough.
In a way, it would do. It's in Scotland's interest now that the Italian teams are competitive.
Yeah,
because we're in this pool with them. They're playing for the Scottish Italian Shield, which those was it the oldest rivalry I think Edinburgh Benetton was once billed as a few seasons ago. We have that classic clash of Edinburgh Benetton.
Yeah, that rivalry since 2011.
But because of the way that the fixtures work, and because we are in a group with Benetton and Zebra, just because everybody else has got 4 franchises apart from us and apart from them, it's in our interest that the Italian teams are strong so that the Scottish teams are properly tested and that we're not playing, strong
enough. I can do without.
Well, you've got to remember that I think Edinburgh have come away from Treviso with a lot more points than Glasgow did the last time they went away to Italy. So we can't really sniff at that,
That was in that made-up Mario Kart Cup, though. So it doesn't count.
So yeah, Ben Vellicott's an interesting one, though, Craig. I mean, you kind of put a thing on our group chat this week. Yeah, it's quite a genuine question. So do you genuinely is Ben Vellicott a prospect for the autumn tests? And I think the overwhelming response was yes. And it's as simple as that. He's played well enough. I think Scotland are stacked at 9 right now. That's the only issue. I think that you've got, Ali Price is fit. George Horn, who we'll come to when we talk about Glasgow, is playing phenomenally well. Jamie Dobie's playing well. Ben Vellicott's playing well. Is there room for 4 scrum halves in the Scotland squad? Can you take 5 scrum halves out of the URC teams, or 4 or 5 scrum halves out of the URC teams? And, we'll get on to the fixtures later. There's no fixture clashes, but are we going to see 5 scrum halves called up?
No, we're not. But Ben Vellicott will be in the squad.
Yeah. I think Tooney's going to definitely put a shirt on his back because I think it's to say mine. But on the other side of things, where I have the big problem, and I've always had this problem, and I'm going to sound like a broken record. If the 2 pro teams in Scotland are meant to develop players for the Scotland team, how can we have Ali Price, George Horn, and Jamie Dobie all at Glasgow, and Ben Vellicott? Okay, we've got Charlie Shield, and I think Charlie Shield, if he continues if there's a little bit less pressure on his back to play to play like a loon all the time. But my concern is we've not that Glasgow are wasting these three top talents.
I'd agree with you, Craig.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying they're wasting them for the way they play. What I'm saying is these guys shouldn't be sitting on the bench,
No.
or not getting a game.
I think Dobby's at the point in his career now where he's probably developed a year too early in terms of the progress plan, because I think there was probably an assumption that either Price or Horn would have moved on by now. And because of COVID, they haven't. And I think Dobby's kind of caught up quicker than maybe the coaches thought he would. It's like Glasgow are for every Stuart Hogg gate where we forget to buy a fullback. We have tended to have quite good contingency measures for Scots qualified players who have come up. Guys like Finn Russell, we brought in Adam Hastings. He was brought in a season early because we then were able to basically build him up. He barely played that first season. Finn then leaves. We've got a ready-made replacement, and there's no difference with Dobby. That's what he's there for.
Ali Price's contract runs out summer 2022. Ali Price is now British and Irish Lion. Ali Price, who played all 3 tests against the Lions. Ali Price is near Glasgow this summer.
Yeah.
Reasonably, yes, that's a reasonable assumption, unless he has the Tommy Seymours about him and wants to stick around the SRU because he likes being looked after and he has maybe a smaller ambition in his career. But Ali Price could play in any league in the world just now. And
there's no chance. There's no chance. I've
seen his missus on Instagram. There's no way that laddie doesn't have ambition.
Oh, aye.
He wants a Lamborghini in the garage, does he not?
Oh,
well,
I mean,
to be fair, watching Racing, I think Price would really suit their way of playing. Just as an aside,
I know. Can you imagine?
I genuinely think I would get a season ticket for Racing over Glasgow at that point. I would literally go and commute to Paris to go and watch.
It could be like the Beatles. We could have a Yoko Ono moment, couldn't we? You know, they both got partners. You know, we don't want to. You know, maybe it's good that they only see each other during the Scottish windows. We don't want to create any. I don't want to be like Love Island Racing 92 edition. Do you know what I mean?
Just remember when Finn came on that park in that last test for the Lions, just the love in each other's eyes. Like, it's game time, Ali. It's game time. Yeah, let's do this. Beautiful.
It'd be like The Good Life, but in Paris. Obviously, Finn Russell's Tom Good in that analogy.
I don't understand why you would ever doubt
that. The scrum half log jam, I think will be partially solved in the summer.
Yes.
And then you'll have two. Everybody will have an even spread of decent scrum halves, depending on how Charlie Shield kicks on.
That, of course, depends on whether George Horn hangs about as well, because there's no guarantee he wants to hang about.
I mean, George Horn's 26 now. Him and Ben Bellick are the same age. So you've got another. You'd be pushing them 2 World Cups. You got the one next year.
Yeah.
No, 23. No.
23. So 2 years. 2 years from now.
Yeah, that makes you 28. So gets you. So there'll be 32, and that's
two World Cups.
2 World Cups. You've got. George Horn hasn't. If you're a club outside of Scotland looking at George Horn, he's Scotland capped. Yes, that's not an easy thing to deal with in France and England, because you've got to justify losing money to sign someone like George Horn. I think George Horn is going to have to do something in a Scotland shirt and be given a chance in Scotland shirt before he becomes attractive enough to a French or an English team to justify paying him the wages that they'd need to get him out of Scotland, and also to justify the money they lose from the French rugby union and the RFU for having a non-English qualified player in their ranks.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Horn stays. Fantastic.
The thing is, I think also there is one other thing to say about George, and he's very like Pete. They are very loyal people. It would have to take a large check or a complete fallout, I think, to see George leaving Glasgow. I might be completely wrong, because obviously I would love him to drive along the M8, but I honestly wouldn't see that. I honestly I couldn't see that at all. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah. The interesting thing as well is, of course, the fact I'll get on to Glasgow in a minute, John. I'm not just delaying it deliberately.
That's all right.
Of the abuse you gave Craig at the weekend on Twitter. But the fixtures thing is an interesting one this season. And I was looking just because I was trying to plan ahead for the next few pods, because we do plan ahead. It looks like we just throw this together every week, but we don't. We do think ahead a little bit. And I noticed, and we talked a few weeks ago. We said, when Scotland announced that test against Tonga, we looked at the URC fixtures and we said, "Oh, there's fixtures that weekend." I don't think the fixture list had been announced with the specific fixtures, but that was designated in the URC calendar as there will be a round of fixtures on the weekend of the 31st of October. Very quietly, there are now no fixtures at all on that weekend. I know there's been no announcements about it, but when you go to the fixture list of the URC, there are now no fixtures that weekend. Wales are playing a game, Scotland are playing a game. The URC have obviously got ahead of it and have quietly moved the rounds around. And which brings me, I mean, that's the benefit for the competition is obviously then that you get all the all the international players for Scotland, Wales, and Ireland are available for all the fixtures then. The problem though comes, John, and this brings us on to Glasgow, that the South African teams perhaps have cause to be. I feel a little bit hard done by. I think about the way the tournament started, given that their players are coming off the back of Alliance Tour straight into the Super Rugby Championship. It's not the same detriment that would befall Scotland because the players are spread across 4 franchises, so it's maybe not felt as keenly as it would be if we were doing this during the Scottish window. But still, Glasgow played a weakened Sharks at the weekend, and there's no getting around that. Yes. Do the URC need to look at staggering the start of the season? Because Super Rugby is not moving, is it?
No.
The Rugby Championship.
The Rugby Championship.
Do you say that? Look, the first few rounds until everybody's back, everyone else will play. Then there'll be the Autumn Test Series, and then during the Six Nations, that's when the South African teams can fulfil their derbies, for example. Yep. It feels like there's a solution there. It feels unfair that these teams are having to play right now.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that's where it comes down to. This is the logistical issue of having Six Nations countries +1, and it does make it very difficult. You're absolutely right. Like the URC made a big song and dance. Jay-Z, about the idea that we were removing the clash with the international windows, but we haven't, because the South African teams are facing that just now, and we can't really be seen to have a competition that is completely fair and equitable and all the stuff that we want it to be, unless we come up with a solution to make sure that South African players are available from the start of the season. I would probably caution just on the point regarding players always being available for games. I think, yes, we've managed to not schedule during international windows. However, Scotland in particular, rightly, are very cautious about their players and will make sure that there will be rest periods either side and that players will be brought into camp probably a week before, maybe 2 weeks before. So we're probably going to see, people are always shouting about, oh, there's no development window now. It was always during the autumn we got to see all the young guns kind of out and running about. And, I always remember seeing Scott Cummings' first start at Scotstoun in an autumn window and thinking, oh, he's bang average. He's going to do nothing. And,
and you were bang on.
I know, exactly. Yeah, right. I know. How I'd scare myself with how right I am sometimes, Craig. No, I actually remember thinking he had a lovely manner in the press box, and he was wearing this wonderful underlayer, and I thought that's such a it looked like he was straight off a training ground somewhere. It was beautiful, but there is still going to be scope for that. But I just think, yeah, you're absolutely right. We need to really think about this sporting integrity of it all again. Is it fair? There is a solution to it. You've just literally come up with it off the top of your head, Cam. To think that maybe our Dublin friends haven't quite thought of that yet is surprising.
Yeah. And it just feels like, we're trying to kind of sell this new tournament as the big product that we're one of the best leagues in rugby, and given the games so far, potentially it can be. It just feels like That's the only thing holding it back at the minute. But on the other hand, John, it's good to see that Glasgow went toe to toe with the Sharks, even a weak Sharks, and played well and won the game, because that would. It's always the worry because they've never played a Southern Hemisphere team. First time played. I know that. Forget about the Cheetahs and the like, because, but a proper top tier, genuine bona fide Super Rugby side, and now in the URC, and Glasgow were equal and better of them.
Yeah,
I know they lost. I didn't have all the nationals, but like we said, it's 2 or 3 players. It's not like a whole squad of players are missing. So that's heartening, because we didn't know how this would go, did we?
No, there was a concern that, with the South African sides coming in with those massive names, and generally, let's be honest, like South Africa, they produce good young players as well. So like these teams they're going to be. There's going to be players underneath that first tier that are very, very talented rugby players. And what was most pleasing for me was Glasgow did, they won the game. They won the game comfortably. They switched off for the last half hour, which was a bit silly, but they won it playing the Glasgow way, actually, which I was really surprised and really heartened to see them playing proper rugby, proper Glasgow rugby. It was really good.
Yeah. Craig, have you got anything positive to say about Glasgow?
Pitch looked okay. No, I think I think okay. No, I think what you have to also look at is that the Sharks had is it the Sharks?
Sharks, yeah.
For some reason, I just had the Lions pop in.
I'm calling it the Sharks because the last time during the Lions tour, when I tried to say the Cell C, there you go. I can't say the Cell C Sharks. Cell C seesaws on the seesaw. The Sharks that I sell are seashells I shore.
You also have to remember that they had Ruan Pinar playing at 9.
Yeah,
they did.
One of the best 9s in the world, or has been. And so there are, and what's his name?
No, you're not allowed to say that. Name. No, it's before the watershed. You can't say that yet.
The lad with the long curly hair.
13 that played against the British and Irish Lions, who
someone
affectionately said there is big such and such during the commentary.
And he was a live wire when he watched them when he was playing against the Lions. And I thought he would have been. I thought he would be a proper danger for Glasgow, and Glasgow utilised them. So I think you have to be. I know you are pleased, John, but I think everyone has to be pleased for how they've performed. I think just going back to what you're saying about we're not going to see the South African players until about January, I would expect.
Yeah,
but what you do have to also remember is that this could be a lead-in for South Africa joining the Six Nations. So if that does happen, then we're going to have this Six Nation period to worry about, because they also have to stay back in South Africa and train with the squad, etc. So you are going to have these periods where you're going to lose the marquee players.
Yeah,
I think that's the lead in. Absolutely, like this tournament again. We've talked about the kind of progression of it, and obviously the Pro 14 with the Cheetahs kind of coming in. It proved that the concept could work. And now the Super Rugby sides are coming in, and this will be a test for whether the calendar can work. And then it's, can South Africa probably exit from the Rugby Championship and come and play in a Northern Hemisphere tournament? It just seems like the natural fit, really. So I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. And yes, I'm very pleased.
It's interesting looking at Glasgow, because Glasgow have essentially, when you look at the lineups, they've brought in a load of new players.
Yes.
Some of the younger players that played last season, they've got Rufus McLean's, even Cole Forbes, who got a few games under his belt, have come in. But then you've got someone like Sione I'll get this right, Tuipulotu, who just seems to be absolutely phenomenal discovery. Whoever found out he had a Scottish granny, like, well done, absolute fair play to that. But then within that, you've got this, you've got Ryan Renaissance Wilson.
Wilson, yeah.
Sorry, not Williams.
Williams, different guy.
No, different guy. Ryan Renaissance Wilson, who's I'd written him off this season. Yeah. I thought that, because he seemed to be part of the problem last season. He seemed to be the guy that was. I know he's a big guy around the squad. I know he does a lot for the new guys coming in and looking after them. And I get that. I think you can't fault the pastoral side of what Ryan Wilson does for Glasgow Warriors. But as a player last season, he was the guy that was doing the infringements. He was the guy that seemed to be holding back the younger players and what they were trying to do. But I thought he seems to have had like a second. He's getting like kind of a second wind almost in his career. He's had a couple of good games.
He's had a summer off, which I think a lot of actually we're noticing a lot of the players not having had a summer tour this year. It has benefited a lot of the players, and Ryan Wilson is one of those guys that he's always been on the periphery of. He's, for a long time he was kind of in and about the Scotland squad, but he was, not necessarily a Six Nations starter. Yeah, he played a lot of games, but he would be good enough to go on a summer tour as well and provide leadership. So he would, there was always that thing of maybe not getting a break. I think he has come back. He looks relaxed, and actually I've noticed that a lot about most of the Glasgow players. They all look very relaxed. They didn't look like that last season. There was at times a panic in what they were trying to do. Everything was forced. Everything was like, I need to win this breakdown or else. And it just seems this season that everyone's kind of just more like, and I mean, I guess it does help when you've got Scott Cummings and Richie Gray at line-out time. It tends to relax you when you're thinking, we could probably steal 50% of the opposition ball here, and quite easily. Richie Gray has, obviously he was away for a lot of years and he's had his injury problems, but name me a better line-out operator in the Northern Hemisphere and I'll challenge you on it. He is phenomenal, particularly in that defensive side. We destroyed the Sharks line-out, destroyed it. So it just gives everyone else confidence. You don't have to panic.
I think the pressure has been taken off them quite a great deal. I think, for example, Ryan Wilson. Don't worry, he'll be back in about 2 or 3 games' time, being the arse that he is. Sorry, but I think him getting his 50th cap. I think no matter what anybody says, I think that's going to take a huge amount of chip stroke pressure off his shoulders because he's been trying. He's trying. That's something that's there. And he's trying his best to try and get infiltrate into the Scotland squad again. Now he doesn't have to do that anymore. He can enjoy his game. I think also the fact that this isn't. I'm not saying this because it's Glasgow and this, that, and the other. It could be any team, but because of the seasons they've had when Danny Wilson came on board, things can't get worse. They've got some fantastic signings. They've got some good players around them, so they can relax and they can't. The pressure isn't. The crowd aren't sitting there going, "Well, we won the, we won the Pro 14, and then we got into the final, last year. What are you doing to do now?" I think they're a bit.
But then I wonder within the squad though, having somebody like Ross Thompson, for example, come along at 10, and bringing back Duncan Weir as much, and. I think those two things, having those two solid options at 10 has to help confidence-wise for the player, for everybody else in the squad. And I think that you can see from Glasgow when they were playing, when you're down to the bare bones of Brandon Thompson at 10, Pete Horn, and don't get me wrong, I think Pete Horn has been a very good 10 for Glasgow in the past. I'm not getting down on Pete Horn being at 10. I like Pete Horn at 10. I like Pete Horn at 12 for Scotland. But Glasgow having a genuinely class 10 in Ross Thompson, and then the drop down being to a very good Duncan Weir, that then means everybody can then relax because you know that your 10 is capable of managing the game and running the plays that you've run in training.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point. I think actually the other side of that is actually Ross Thompson's accuracy off the tee. It's we've talked about it again in our group chat that like he's. I think I can think of two maybe he's missed in his time at Glasgow. He's so consistent and he kicks beautifully, and you're just waiting for that. He's a young guy, and you're just waiting for that moment where it kind of falls away, like that accuracy, and it just doesn't. He seems very, very composed.
Yeah.
The Glasgow attack coach was in the press today saying that he's got it all. In his opinion, he has it all. He can run, he can pass, he can kick, and he just needs to learn what balance to have on that. And he'll be internationally renowned 10 was what he said. So he's a very talented boy.
Yeah.
Do you think that talking about talented rugby players?
Here's Johnny McGinty. Good evening, Johnny.
Hello.
Your words, Craig.
Yeah, well, I have to butter him up because he's my teammate. But
why is your weights in the back, Johnny? Is this like when people were on Zoom for the first time went in the lockdown and they were like trying to
curating their background?
Yeah, they're like, oh, look at my books, and Johnny's like, look at my guns.
No, I just don't have that much space in my house, so my office and gym room are in the same room.
Aye, okay, we believe you, son. We believe you.
We were just talking about Ross Thompson, Johnny.
Oh.
Have you got anything to add?
He is a very talented lad.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you, though. Sorry, Cameron.
No, go ahead.
Do you think Hastings has made the jump at the wrong time?
No, because I think there was the opportunity, and I think Thompson came in. I think he maybe actually made the opportunity just a wee bit too early because he pure got banned for Hunters his last season and injured for the rest of it.
But do you think that we're going to see a Finn Russell, Ross Thompson, Scotland squad?
Nah.
You get through. I think of all three. I think you've got all three in the squad.
I'll tell you, he's not going to be in the squad, Craig, because you'll not be missing Jaco van der Veld very much.
I think because
you're funny.
Hastings has proven, gentlemen, Hastings has proven he can play 15. Finn can play 12, so we can probably afford three 10s.
I mean, that's just that. What are we at that? You get George Horn at 9. We're at what, like Cats at a giant outdoor rave 5-day festival.
Cats at Blair Drummond Safari Park with the dinosaurs having a rave in the play area. Be class.
I look, people from the SRU listen to this podcast. We know they do. Please, against Tonga, all we're asking for is in the last 20 minutes, can we have George Horn at 9, Ross Thompson at 10, Finn Russell at 12, and Adam Hastings at 15.
Hastings at fullback, Tuipulotu at 13.
I was going to say Tuipulotu. You'll get a shirt in the autumn.
Who are we having at 12?
James Lang, just to really mess with him.
Just for balance.
Just for kicks. No, I mean, that's
he's the man with his headphones on at the rave listening to Savage Garden.
No, I think at that point, just it would be classic Townsend to go, do you know what? It's time for Hugh Jones to come in at 12.
I know we already said Finn's at 12.
Finn's at 12, yeah. Finn's at 12, Tuipulotu at 13. Let's put Hugh Jones in the wing then.
Darcy Graham on the other.
Yeah,
Jobs are good, and there's the back line for the last 10
There's
minutes.
absolutely no choice in not having Darcy Graham on the wing. That's
no.
I was going to have Jamie Dobby on the other one.
Yeah. We'll and Blair Kinghorn will be on the 10 replacement on the bench.
Reserve 10, absolutely. There you go.
Yeah. You can cover 10 and 15.
What can go wrong?
Anything else for Glasgow for you, John or Johnny?
Nah,
we've covered George Horn, Johnny, by the way.
Phenomenal. It was 50 minutes of pure Glasgow rugby, and honestly, like I can't overemphasize. I know I'm a Glasgow fan and stuff like that, but I can't overemphasize. Watching the game, I was smiling. I was enjoying watching rugby.
It was
that's
brilliant.
That's what it's all about.
We've got an actual doctor, Craig, asking whether or not you're drinking hand sanitizer or hard seltzer. He says, I misread it's hand sanitizer. Are you drinking hard seltzer? Sorry, I misread that as hand sanitizer. It's been a long evening. I've been on video chat since 6:30 tonight. It's been a long evening. Are you drinking hard seltzer? Alan McDonald asks, is that like what is that like?
It's like fizzy water, is it not?
What's it called? White Claw.
Something like that, yeah. No, I'm drinking a diet brand of cola.
Here's medical advice from Alan McDonald. Followed by don't drink hand sanitizer. Take horse tranquilizers instead. That's what gets rid of the COVID. No, it doesn't. Don't get us banned from Facebook.
You're going to get us banned. You're going to get us banned this time.
Alcoholic fizzy water is what hard seltzer is.
Oh, that sounds nice, actually. Can I get some?
It's not. Don't fall for it.
Is that like Tab Clear but with alcohol in it? Do you remember Tab
Clear? Yeah, it's not far off.
Am I speaking to
Johnny being the student that knows all the alcoholic drinks?
No, do you know what? It's
a list like that.
Hard seltzer is surprisingly expensive for what it is.
I'm going to go and try some hard seltzer this week, and I will report back to you in the podcast next week.
Please do, John. We'll make that a standing item. Different drinks we've all tried.
Drinks with John.
Drinks with John. That's it for the URC. Let's do a bit. We've got like 10 minutes left to the main pod, so we do Super 6. Our pick of the 6 this week. I thought it looked particularly dark at the Air Southern Knights game, and I couldn't really understand what was happening in the back corner. I don't know what it was like there, but Christ, it was dark.
I don't know how it can have been that dark either, because that is the first time that I've seen Air's frankly horrendous bright yellow and black change kit.
It's worse than Boroughmuir. I'm going to call
awful.
It. Really
it's
bad.
Worse than Sterling shorts.
Oh no, that's really bad then.
yeah. Gianni Fantini didn't look good in it. That's how bad it was.
There was a lot of malls again. Can I just that was my pick. We do like a Super 6 mall. It is good. It is good fun, and there was a surprising amount that didn't end up in tries, which you're watching
penalty tries,
and you're watching them and going, "Well, that's a try." How have they butchered that, or why is the referee not calling that right now? Yeah, it was surprising.
But that for me was the big thing of this weekend, is that everybody's defense seemed to take it up a notch, because the defensive efforts, the tries that were scored in general were not because people were slipping off tackles. It was because of really good offloads, really good attack. I didn't see that many tries there weren't that many soft tries, I guess.
I think the weather had a lot to do with it as well. I think there was a lot of forward play because of the weather. There was some horrendous weather with within some of the games. I think that had a lot to do with the forward work that was going on. But no, I think defence was great. I also would like to a shout out for Holly Davison, reffing the Air game. It was great to see her back at it. I didn't know, I hadn't seen her reffing for some time, and it's great to see her taking control of it again.
I think she was reffing in the women's tournament out in Italy, wasn't she? I think she was on the line for a couple of the games. I might be wrong with that. I'm pretty sure she was.
Yeah,
I might be wrong with that. Apologies if I am.
But no, it was good to see her. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah. The other one I had was we've talked about this before in the podcast, and it was the last. I have got this. It's the last Sterling try. There's the Heritage player sliding. I don't like the sliding in when guys are in for the try. By all means, if you're in a position to try and hold someone up, hold them up. But sliding in on your knees and smashing somebody in the face with your knees, you're not going to achieve anything out of that other than winding somebody up. And actually, it's dangerous. I'd like to see it pulled up. I'd like to see referees get tougher on it, because there wasn't a a chance in hell that player was ever going to stop them from scoring the try. And then there was the Boroughmuir game, might have been Boroughmuir, and like the Boroughmuir player was clean through, clean set of heels, and fine. The Watsonians players are chasing him, but there's no. It's when somebody goes over for the try and then they run over the top of you.
Yeah.
And I get why they do it. I get the niggle, but it's needless, and it's going to cause somebody a bad injury. It's going to end someone's season, and it's pointless.
One of the young gentlemen who was watching this pod earlier on, I don't know if he still is at this point, but he was certainly giving me dog's abuse in the comments earlier on.
It's one of your couple of friends earlier this evening.
I've got yeah. I know. We're organising a trip to Wales for the game next season, and I stupidly said to them, "Oh, the podcast is on." Oh, yeah, I'll not do that again. But one of those young gentlemen on one of our epic trips to Wales, where we ended up playing a very full strength side, when we were very much not at our full strength. He done the slide in on a player who scored the first try, and there was threats against his life at that point. The opposition were not best pleased, and actually his own teammates maybe said to him as well, "Don't do that, mate." So like, if we can handle it at our level, I think Super Six need to wrap that. It's not good enough.
No.
I thought Stirling's Roach was really good. Again, he's been fantastic through.
He's had a good tournament.
Yeah.
He's had a good tournament. I think it's been a good signing for Stirling. He looks a live wire and got a couple of tries on the weekend. You know,
2 tries, and then again, like Boroughmuir Bears. I think I started the first week saying, "Oh, Boroughmuir, they're the ones to watch," and then they fade away. But what that was a really good game against, Watsonians at the weekend. I thought they kind of seem to have clicked a little bit with what they're trying to do.
Yeah, Colleen Barretto continues to impress me. He's been really good.
Yeah.
The only concern would be that again they've scored a lot of points. And they've looked very good going forward, but they have conceded a lot of points as well. And you would again just have to question whether, if you're wanting to compete, like we've seen the top sides in Super Six, like they have just gradually improved week on week on week, tight and the defence is stronger. You can't concede that number of points against these teams and then expect to win because what's only is kind of let them, they opened the door a wee bit for them at times.
Am I right in thinking is everybody beating everybody in the Super Six at some point this season?
It'll be not far off that.
Yeah,
not far off.
Yeah.
I think that's not to say that they haven't.
I think it might be Boroughmuir that are the only ones that haven't beaten their crew. I think I'm not sure.
Yeah, my fine section on the Super. I'm not going through all the. I'm not sure. I know that definitely. It's only whether Boroughmuir have beaten the Bulls or they've beaten Southern Knights. That's the only thing I don't think Boroughmuir.
I don't think they've beaten the Southern Knights either.
They definitely haven't beaten the Southern Knights. The
Super Knights, man, John, those Super Knights.
Does this have to happen every week?
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely, 100%, Johnny.
I'm shocked there's not a bloody jingle so far.
Oh well,
I'm really disappointed.
I'm gonna get I'm gonna find some old Southern film, Gone with the Wind, something like that. Okay.
Well, there's a great Glenn Campbell song. So,
who was it you nearly got sued by, Cam, ages ago? Which was it? Barbara Streisand?
Barbara Streisand. My Twitter got a not mark against it from Barbara Streisand for a video of James Haskell running into the post. I can't remember what song it was. It's a video of him running into the post, and I soundtracked it to Barbara Streisand. I can't remember what the song was, but yeah, I got a strike against me for
not to get us sued by using Southern Belle music, Cam, please.
What is the theme tune to Gone with the Wind? Is there a theme tune to it? She's gone with the wind, gone with the wind. Everyone's a bit racist, gone with the wind.
So I'm assuming this is one of Craig's posse. Was that an accent? Oh yeah.
My dear, it certainly was.
Don't start. She's got an she's not a fan of my accents for some reason. I don't know why.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah,
I can't
why
imagine why. Right, back to rugby. Okay.
Oh,
so
Alan McDonald, though. No, you say back to Alan McDonald. Absolutely, absolutely killing it here with it should be Southern Nights to the tune of Summer Nights.
Oh no.
Alan, I'm making that happen.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Hang on a
We'll
minute,
end the
there's
Super
a-
Six.
there's a
We'll end the
song
Super
out
Six
there.
for that.
I'll
You can't ignore Glenn Campbell and his Southern Nights song. What's all that about?
Me and you, Craig, White Hoods, last week of the pod. Last
Oh, hey, listen, we're
Can
not
we
in
please not?
we're not in Exeter just now. Thanks very much.
Alan, that is unacceptable. things to be saying in the chat.
There we go. Right. Very briefly before we move on, that's it for the the Super Six this week. Very quick, because I wanted to cover this on the main podcast. This is quite a good talking point that's been brought up on Twitter. The Scotland women are playing Japan in a friendly in November at the goddamn stadium in Edinburgh at the back of Murrayfield. On paper, what a marvellous thing to happen. Scotland, they get a chance to test themselves. They got another international side before they go to the repechage tournament in January for qualification for the World Cup. However, the game has been scheduled on a Sunday at 4:10. And Craig, do you want to tell us why that is an issue?
Well, the issue is that all of the women's teams will be playing a fixture that day. They kick off at 2:00 in the afternoon. Unless you're in Edinburgh playing at Kistorfin, you've got
And
no
even
chance
then,
of
you're
getting-
pegging it along there in your boots.
Absolutely, and also you're doing the bar out of a few beers and looking after the team that you've just played to get down to watch Scotland women. The main, it just defies belief. And okay, fair enough. I understand that that might be the only time that the goddamn stadium is available, and that might be the only time that Japan can come over and play. But schedule it for a later night game or do something, because you've just not all the women who weekend in, weekend out go out and play rugby in Scotland have not got a chance to come and watch the Scotland team at the goddamn stadium.
You would imagine Japan are here a little bit longer. You would imagine they maybe might stay the night. So, perhaps.
Actually, they're just coming on a flight straight Tokyo to Edinburgh, off the plane, game of rugby, back on Edinburgh Airport. Ian Wallace is driving them in the airport bus straight back on the plane and back to go.
At least they're not getting the trams, eh?
The Trampedo. Yeah. They'll get the Trampedo back.
Yeah. We're not going to get into that conversation. Right?
Oh, yes, we are.
That's a Patreon special on its own.
Oh,
But yeah, even the problem you have though is that if I don't know what the exact games are, but if you've got someone up playing at Gary, you've got someone playing at West of Scotland, even if it is a late night kickoff, a 5-6 o'clock kickoff, they're still going to struggle to get there.
Yeah.
And I just think it's just, we're going so far, we're getting there with Scottish rugby. Come on, think about it,
But it's not like Edinburgh aren't playing the fixture that weekend, right? The stadium's free on. It's not like, we had to schedule it on the Sunday because Edinburgh playing on the Saturday. Edinburgh don't have a fixture that weekend, so it's easily scheduled for the Saturday.
Is there not a men's fixture on the Saturday afternoon though? Because it's the weekend of one of the Autumn Internationals.
Yeah, maybe there we go. But could you not? But then I don't know how this is the thing, is how it'll be interesting to see how they use the goddamn stadium during the autumn tests, because you could we've talked about whether you can run women's games at the same time as men's games, whether you can offer you pay a little bit more, you get in, or you can ask for pay £1 more, and you can go to the goddamn stadium before the game or after the game and go and watch the women's fixture, watch 2 rugby games back to back.
Be a good way to do it.
Yeah. I just, as I say, I just wanted to mention it because it certainly, I was quite taken aback, and actually the young lady who was complaining about my accent was one of the ones who was like, "You're joking? Have you seen this?" And when they announced it, we just couldn't believe it, So anyway,
it's really frustrating.
Do you know
it's back to that idea of like the scheduling for rugby still like some, when you're sitting there and you're just like, how can that be possible? How can we actually think that's a good idea to schedule? Like, it was always the case that actually Scotland internationals in the men's game were sometimes scheduled at the same time that the clubs were playing. There was like the 2:30 kickoffs, and you're like, what? And then we kind of resolved that slightly. And then we've got the URC and all that nonsense. And then we've now got this. It's just like someone just needs to be aware that the vast majority of your fans quite like to run about in a park and actually play the game. So how about we support that? It's just brain dead.
Yeah. So that seems a good point to leave it as any this week. Don't like to leave on a low, but there we go. That's how we've ended up. For those that want to end on a high, I say a high. We'll see how we get on. We're about to do our Patreon-only podcast in a moment. I know. God, I'm well.
Johnny, could you do some reps just now in your weights? That'll end us all on a high.
Yeah.
Just go pump out some reps while we end.
He can do it while we all go for our comfort break. People on the secret Facebook group can just watch Johnny doing some lifts.
I'm going to go get a beer. That's definitely not high. I've just been at training.
So we will be back next week. We've got, like I said, we'll be more URC, a bit more Super 6. We'll kind of come up to the final Super 6 weekend. It's all getting excited, which is clearly Ayrshire Bulls versus Southern Nats. So it's going to happen, John. You get a break. Don't worry, it's nearly over.
I think we should be setting up for the final to take a load of fans, and I mean fans.
Fans, yeah.
So we can. Oh man!
I can't make the final because we were away, but I was trying to see if we could get up there. But I think if we could somehow organise an army of people to go up there, and then every time the Southern Knights scored, just to shout in unison, "Ma!" whilst fanning themselves, that would possibly be the greatest thing this podcast has ever achieved. So, anyone's willing to make that happen, please let us know. However, though, I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up. It is goodbye from me, and goodbye from John, Craig, and Johnny.
Bye.
All right.